full-blown boycott pushed for the Beijing 2022 Olympics. Yay. So, human rights groups have called for a full boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing due to China's human rights abuses against ethnic and religious minorities. China has been under constant scrutiny by the international community for its reputation of repression of Tibetans, tensions in Hong Kong, and the ongoing Uyghur genocide, which the ruling party vehemently denies. The Winter Olympics are scheduled to begin on February 4th, 2022. Ladon Tathong of the Tibet Action Institute said in an interview with the Associated Press that, quote, the time for talking with the International Olympic Committee, or IOC, is over, and highlighted that in response to objections to the previous Olympics in China held in 2008, the IOC said that hosting the event would help improve human rights in the country. Several activist groups have called on the Winter Olympics to be set somewhere other than China. Tathong recommended that activists lobby the IOC's top sponsors, who generate about 40% of all IOC revenue.
What are you views? Oh, what does Pelosi got to do with this?
She was calling for a boycott as well.
Wow. What happened to the Trump supporters telling us that this administration, the Democrats, are going to be soft on China? Look, this is Pelosi calls for a boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics, which means the boycott has bipartisan consensus. This is a tight slap on the face of CCP, slap on the CCP face indeed. Yeah, what happened? Like, Biden keeps on becoming more and more aggressive on CCP. I was told that the Democrats are a puppet of the CCP. I don't know what's going on, Suze. What's going on, Suze? What happened to all this? People like, wait, Armin, you'll see. Beijing Biden is going to bend over backwards for the CCP. Like, I don't see it. Do you see it? Maybe it'll happen.
They would maybe say, like, it's all talk. We want action. So I think that's how they would reply. But I thought that this was very interesting to highlight. Now, this is something I personally fully support. A boycott of the Olympics in Beijing. I think it's a really complicated issue. So the International Olympics Committee, or IOC, like, when they've been faced with really heavy criticism for this, but they respond that, like, we're not a governing party. Like, we don't, or we're not a political organization. We're not a political party. Like, they were basically saying we're a sports organization.
Bull crap. Olympics is all about politics. And
yeah.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of blasphemy and sexy Kali, like me, then that means that you probably want more blasphemous art. Well, I have good news for you. If you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below, then you get a free booklet of some of the tastiest blasphemous art available today. So, if you want some of this delicious blasphemy, and we're so generous that we update it for you guys weekly for free, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter below. You can also go to blasphemousart.com/ebook. That's blasphemousart.com/ebook. Sign up with your email, and you get free gifts of this tasty blasphemy. What could be better? So make sure you sign up. Link below.
It's about the image of a country. It's the entire reason why countries fund their Olympics teams is because of the marketing and the branding of their country. Okay, it's about representing what the country stands for and all its values and all that stuff. This is complete, and especially China. From all the countries in the world, like, when it comes to private institutions, so-called private institutions being PR departments for the government, China is the country that you see that the most, even the most, so-called independent organizations and private institutions, their number one mission 2 is to make profit. Mission 1 is to promote the glory of the CCP. Okay, that's mission 1. If you're an entity in China, I don't care if you're a government institution or not, mission 1 is to promote the CCP. Okay, assume that unless proven otherwise. Okay,
well,
no, this is
right. I think I don't know how many people like remember the 2008 Olympics, but I remember that very strongly. I mean, I was pretty young, but the opening ceremony, like where they had, because it happened in 2008, they had like 2008 drummers in this field perfectly in sync with each other, you know? And a lot of the opening ceremony to me, and this is true for like many countries, but I felt as a child like the certain aspects of this opening ceremony were to show like the united strength of China. And I think that this activist who the Associated Press was interviewing about this issue from the Tibet Action Institute, or something like that, the point that she made that was so good was that this is what they said last time. In 2008, over 10 years ago, the Olympic Committee argued that, no, we should, because there were still major protests back then, because especially the issue with Tibet has been ongoing for decades, right? So they argued, oh, well, us holding the Olympics in Beijing will actually help with China's human rights record. It'll encourage them to be better about their human rights, to encourage probably more like trade. I don't know the full argument, but they did argue that it would make the situation better. And this activist in response was saying, literally, it's only gotten so much worse in China since 2008.
Yeah.
It's gotten so much worse. So like, what's your excuse now? That's not a good justification any longer. Now, this is kind of a criticism, but kind of not. Personally, I don't think that I think it's a good thing to lobby for. It's a good thing to lobby for. Holding the Olympics in a different country. Okay, like don't hold them in China. I think that's a good thing to lobby for. I don't think that's something that's going to happen. Billions of dollars go into this, right? Like, where are they suddenly, like, unless they maybe go to a previous country where they held Winter Olympics, it takes years to plan for the Olympics happening in your country, in your city. So much infrastructure. Like, where are they going to shift it to in the span of 1 year? I feel like that's not going to happen. Now, however, as an activist, I don't think that that's a bad thing to lobby for. You want to lobby for as much as you can possibly get, right? You want to lobby hard. You're not going to settle for less. Do I think it's likely that they're going to be held elsewhere? No. But I think it is something worthwhile to fight for, because you'll probably win other successions? Yeah, I think that's what I mean. Along the way. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I want to also, before we move to the next news, ask you, what do you think about the fact that, I actually don't know if it's a fact, but the boycotts against Israel's government for the way they treat the Palestinians have been a lot more successful than boycotts against China on the way that they treat their Muslim population. Like, if I mean, maybe it's because the movement hasn't. A lot of people are like, oh, China, these boycotts will not have an impact. It doesn't matter. I don't think that is true. I mean, just because it's not a binary thing. Like, people think like, if you don't completely defeat China or some Chinese government or something like that, that means that your boycotts did not work. But there's a lot of studies and analysis that shows that it's not these movements or these campaigns or the boycotts. It's not an all or none thing. It's not like if it doesn't completely stop the human rights violation, it didn't have an impact. We have seen so many times, like even with countries like Saudi Arabia or Iran, we have seen boycotts or campaigns had somewhat an influence, that it reduced the violations, even though it didn't stop them. They do have an impact, especially because these countries, people think like they don't care about their image, they're going to do what they're going to do. These countries spend so much money on promoting their image around the world. They absolutely care about their image. A country like the CCP is so sensitive. They get so triggered when they are when they claim they've been misrepresented. They're crybabies whenever somebody says something negative about them. Like they throw it, temper tantrum every time. Like you can see them. They very much cared about their image. They spend millions of dollars trying to promote their image, and campaigns like this or boycotts targets that, and it might have some influence in their behavior. I'm not saying it's gonna China's gonna be like, okay, fine, let's close all the concentration camps tomorrow because of the boycott. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it does have an influence. Again, don't think so black and white. It's not binary. It might have an impact, especially given that these boycotts might when they start, they usually are not that big of a deal, but over the years, as it might gain momentum, right? But what do you think? Why do you think like that? So even within the Muslim community, I'm not saying some Muslims are not paying attention to what China is doing, but the reactions to Israel's treatment of Muslims is a lot stronger than what China's treatments of Muslims. Even though China's treatment of Muslims is astronomically, I mean, I'm not excusing human rights violations that is happening against like Palestinians or stuff like that, but again, compared, like what China is doing is astronomically worse, both in scale and in numbers and in the violations. It's like it's the closest thing we have to going back to what I'm not even going to mention it because
World War II.
Yeah, World
War
II.
What horrified people about World War II.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's that. Obviously, nothing we've ever seen that gets.
But it's the closest we've seen.
It's the closest we've become to what happened before that point. Okay, again, I hope people.
It's the closest in this the technological advances that go into it are higher than we have ever seen. The surveillance that goes into it is higher than anything we've seen. Well, what you were saying about actions against, like, say, Israel versus China, I think I don't know any data about the BDS movement. So for those who aren't familiar, it stands for Boycott, Divest, and Sanction. It's primarily or maybe entirely focused on targeting Israel with boycotts, divestments, and sanctions for the treatments of Palestinians and that ongoing conflict. That movement has been going for a long time. Like, I don't even know how long. Granted, I'm pretty young, but as long as I've been aware of the conflict, BDS has been a thing. So in terms of how successful that is, I don't know. There almost certainly is data on that. I would have to look into that. But my understanding is that people just aren't as aware of the situation in Xinjiang with the Uyghurs and also Kazakhs, just treatment of ethnic minorities, the surveillance state there. And I think the awareness of that is continuing to grow. I see a lot more big, like, leftist YouTubers talking about it more. I think it's starting to really come into awareness. And this situation in Xinjiang has been going on for years itself already, like a long time, but now it's building awareness. So it'd be interesting to see if it garners as much attention and emotional salience, I would say, as the Israel-Palestine situation. So one thing that I thought that you were talking about, I think it was on the Ask Us Anything that you did for secular jihadists yesterday, where you were saying a lot of what goes into that conflict is that your stance on Israel-Palestine has become a signal of your in-group or out-group, depending on what you stand. And your passion for it is a good way of displaying your commitment to your in-group or out-group. And that's a lot of what goes into the fervor of people's politics regarding that conflict, and also the urgency of the action that they take. I thought that was very insightful. And I'll be interested to see if that evolves with the situation in Xinjiang, because although it can be very divisive, it certainly calls a lot of attention to things, and it can get things done more quickly because there's more people showing outrage about it. I hope that the situation in Xinjiang doesn't become too partisan. Because I know a lot of right-wingers kind of just use any tool they have against China, whether or not they like actually, I don't know, probably don't care too much about the treatment of, like Muslims. So yeah, I hope that it doesn't become a super partisan Democrat-Republican thing, because that will be damaging to the people of that region.
I actually agree with Adam here as well. I say Adam is saying I'm not supporting BDS. BDSM is cool though. Agreed. First part. Agreed with second part as well. But still think anti-boycott laws are BS. Yeah, I agree with all three of them. Again, the only reason why I don't support the BDS is because I need to do more research.
Me too.
But people I trust have said that it's very much tied to anti-Semitic movements, right? This might be not true, but so I would need to do some more research. So, but until I know for sure that it's not, I would not be willing to support anything like that myself personally. Because I think it's very likely that is true. BDSM though is not anti-Semitic at all, obviously. So that's cool. And but yeah, but even
thank goodness we clarified the BDSM wasn't anti-Semitic. I wish Rivka was here. She would have some zingers for that.
Yes. But yes, but yeah, even if I personally don't support it, I think it's insane how so many people are making it illegal, like making boycotts illegal. And, like,
yeah, that's a free speech issue as well.
Yeah, and especially in the United States, which is supposed to be the center of free speech in the whole world, the fact that they're passing laws against it is insane.
Yeah, like I follow a lot of Palestinian activists, and I don't agree with everything, but that's one thing that I thought was completely insane. But Rabid Atheist has a very good point. He's saying we are far too economically connected to China for a boycott to work, but it does draw attention to the issue. Yeah, so our governments are obviously way too tightly connected. I think as a consumer, you can make or try to make as best decisions as possible. However, I mean, so much comes out of China. It's very difficult. So it would have to be on a consumer level, definitely. And it's one thing to boycott something in silence, but I feel like it works best if you're doing it publicly, so you're continuing to draw attention to it. Because if you just are personally making that decision, like, it's not going to make much of a difference. You need to garner more grassroots mass action of consumer behavior.
Hey guys, YouTube has fully demonetized our channel for supposedly hateful and harmful conduct, without telling us what we did wrong. If we get to 1,000 patrons, we will be able to keep paying all our team, our editors, our artists, without ever having to worry about monetization again, which would be amazing. Yay! So please support Atheist Republic on Patreon. Link in the description below.